Fantasy News Guys, where we discuss all things fantasy all the time. My name's Bud, and we got a great show for you today because we're going to be talking about the Weekend Warriors, a very competitive fantasy football league based out of the Central Valley of California. Once again, let me introduce you to my homeboy. His name is Bud. What's up, buddy? How you doing, buddy?
Bud?
Cheers to you.
Feeling good tonight. How are you?
Ooh, I'm feeling good, but I'm flummoxed. This is some kind of league we're dealing with right here.
This has been an exciting couple of days as we broke this league down and took a look at where things stood come playoff time here.
Playoffs?
Weekend Warriors is a bottleneck of fun.
It is.
And I think we're going to touch on a lot of that here tonight, and it'll be interesting.
You know, and this is a league, you take a step back and you say, every team here wants it. Every team here is vying for the big prize. And every team may, well, except for one, has a chance to make it to the dance.
It's the beauty of fantasy football is that, yeah, there's some luck involved, and that keeps some of those bottom feeders alive. But you always have a chance working the waiver wire, doing various things with your team, obviously drafting well. But in this particular case, all but one team, the City Strippers, who are down in the cellar, dwelling there, everybody's got a chance, even if it's a slim chance at that.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And I'll tell you, this is a special league where they're allowed 20 waiver moves maximum. And judging by some of the moves that some of these team managers have made, they really need a crash course on how to work a waiver wire, because I've seen some really horrible waiver wire picks, yeah, especially when you're so limited.
A 20-move cap makes it a real challenging league, and we've seen that here as we went through these rosters and we looked at some of those waiver moves that have been done throughout the year. Some of these teams are in good positions, but yeah, they've limited themselves heading into playoff time.
Might want to avoid Joseph Adai. Might want to avoid Reggie Wayne, okay?
Wow.
All right, so we were talking about the bottleneck for the first place. Who's going to be first? Who's going to be second? But also, we still got about 5 teams vying for that 6th playoff spot. And hey, you want to make the playoffs?
Well, you've got a team in Sodak sitting at number 6, controlling their own destiny at 6 and 5. They win out, they're in. They got a lot of teams nipping at their heels. 4 teams at 5 and 6. And a couple down there at 4 and 7 with an outside shot.
Ouch.
I like that Twisters team, and we'll talk about that.
Twisters, they got some point totals.
There's some point totals there, and that's a column you got to look at when, prognosticating. We might have procrastinated our research a bit. Yeah. When you're prognosticating who's going to go to the big dance, you got to look at that point total and see, who's dangerous.
And we might also see things plan out. Some of these so-called 7-4 tough guys taking a run to the crapper, because I'm not seeing a lot of talent in these teams going forward. All right. So in this special episode, we're going to talk about last week's game. It's always, hey, you need to go where you need to know where you come from to know where you're going. We're going to talk about this week's game, make some projections about who's going to win, who's going to lose. And we're going to play a little special game we call Makers or Faker.
We certainly are.
Yeah. All right. For the week that was, the week that is, and the week that shall be. Let's get going. All right. Last week's game. Start off. The Rams defeated Trojanitis.
Yep.
It was 119-95. The Rams, they're on top. They're the top dog. Most points. Is this the team to beat?
This Ram team on a 2-game winning streak when it counts. They're the number 1 team in the league. They've got the most points in the league at 1484. I think they're in a position to take that number 1 seed. Obviously, if play stopped now, they would. But when you got 5 teams tied at 7 and 4, it's anybody's game. With 2 to play, we'll see who ends up at number 1. That Rams team, though, in a real nice position.
How many leagues have we looked at where the top team, the top team has had Aaron Rodgers at the helm?
Yeah.
Is that amazing? Aaron Rodgers equals fantasy winners, I suppose.
I don't often agree with drafting a quarterback in your number 1 slot, but in this case, you got quite an argument for Aaron Rodgers, a perennial.
This guy's like Tom Brady a couple years back.
25-plus point producer. That can really
just
put your
like
team
the
over
bulkhead,
the edge.
yeah. Trojanitis, what are we going to say about Trojanitis? They're in 11th place, they're 4-7, and their point total is redonkulous.
They don't have the point total. It'd take a miracle for them to make the playoffs. They're that 4-7 team that really probably has no shot.
Yeah.
The running game with Chris Johnson, it's just been a disappointment all year, and I think that's probably been felt throughout the lineup. The
Larry Fitzgerald, he's got no one to throw him the ball.
Yeah.
Trojanitis, better looks next year.
A few big names on the roster, but the lack of quarterback really haunts him.
Looks like Trojanitis got a case of meningitis. All right, up next, big game. The Godfather defeated Twisters 121-109. He had huge output from Matthew Stafford, and Roddy White showed up. Hadn't been doing a whole lot, and for Twister, he was middling, but he got nothing out of Jermichael Finley and Mario Manningham, and that was probably it.
Yeah, I mean, the Mario Manningham plague all year, he's been pretty much a disappointment, and he's had opportunities.
What's going on with Jermichael?
Jermichael Finley's just on a high-octane offense. He just doesn't get targeted enough. Aaron Rodgers spreads the ball around and giving it more to Jordy Nelson, as you're seeing in the red zone. You can't count on Jermichael Finley. But I'll tell you that, again, I'll touch on this later. This Twisters team is a team that I like. I like the talent on the roster. I think they have an opportunity to really make some noise. They got one move left in the waiver, and we'll see how they utilize that.
All right, up next we have Tucky blowing out LT in. LT out, Matthews in. I'm sorry.
Another tongue twister there.
Yeah. 158-90, and this was the Toyota Tundra blowout of the game.
Wow.
And as I like to say, I have a lot of friends who ride Toyota Tundras, and they love it.
They're good cars.
Yes. But hey, Ray Rice, Victor Cruz, New England's defense on Monday night went off.
They certainly did. If you're in a league where you can't make too many waiver wire moves, plugging and playing defense is a risky endeavor. I assume this was a plug and play. I don't have that information in front of me, but New England, not a good defense to continue with. But in that instance, they needed a win. They got it.
Hey,
that was what was necessary.
Tucky saves their season. They lose the route, but also it really showed that LT out, Matthews in. Wes Welker didn't do crap. Ryan Matthews and AP are both injured awfully. Is LT out, Matthews in? Gonna stick around. They may get to the dance, but they might get kicked out after the first round.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's one of those classic tales. You got a good record, but you don't have the points. I think when you want to see how good a team is, you go to the points first. I think sometimes you win a couple of garbage games and your record looks good, but we know the points don't lie. This Tucky team, however, I see them with a talented roster. They made that Kevin Smith addition. They've won, they have 13 moves total on the year. That means they can do some things that other teams can't late in the year. You can add a few more pieces if you can just get over that hump at 5-6. Hope for a Sodak loss and get yourself in the dance. Watch Tucky along with the Twisters at this point.
I think we should make one thing clear. We should clarify one thing. When we say a team is middling, say such as LT out, Matthews in, I hope I don't have to say that 10 times in a row. If a team's not good, that means the management's probably not that good. All right? So if your team sucks, and you as a manager probably need to look in the mirror and say, what do I need to do to get better? All right, up next, Polk High defeats Sodak 113-69. A huge loss for Sodak. What the hell happened to Sodak? Yeah, Brandon Marshall, Damian Williams, and Beanie Wells shit the bed.
Yeah, Sodak was a team that impressed me when I looked at its resume of what they've done this year as far as transactions. They made a couple of key trades, Brandon Marshall, AJ Green coming on board. Great additions to the team, but those guys need to step up. Obviously, AJ Green was hurt and didn't play. Obviously, that affects this year. But when you put up 69 points up against a Polk High team that's at the bottom of the barrel, you got to look and check yourself.
Polk High did have Rob Gronkowski, who had that great Monday night game, but still, Sodak.
I think Sodak's got issues. They're 6-5, yes.
69 points. What is that?
Sean Green, Beanie Wells are banged up. Julio Jones is hurting.
Playboy?
Green. You got half your roster
Jesus.
hurting, and you've got 4 moves.